Have you ever asked yourself, what sport is harder, football or basketball?
Show blitz, they bring four. Jackson throws on the run to beat, baby, brought it in.
Watch this, partner. Just watch. Poetry in motion is what.
Hold on, did he just do a 360 layup? Hold on, which side am I on this argument? I thought football was harder than basketball. Well, I'm Ollie Joseph, and today I'll be speaking on what sport is harder, football or basketball. It never dawned to me as a kid that one of the sports was harder than the other. I always played football, and that has always been my specialty, but basketball is low-key hard too. Football and basketball interiorly have their own separate difficulties that require immense athleticism, strategy, and skill. But at the end of the day, football is substantially the hardest sport due to its never-ending cycle of injuries, high physical demands, while having more stricter positional regimens, and the need for tactical execution.
But Rondell Moore.
Did you just see that? Although basketball prioritizes vertical athleticism, endurance, and high-skill plays, almost every football player has to endure high-speed collisions throughout the game that put a greater toll on the human body. According to Jay Hoffman, in the article The Physical Demands of American Football, this says the predominant energy systems during play for all football players, regardless of the position on the field, are the anaerobic energy systems. So what does this mean for a football player? Well, the anaerobic system is the way the body produces ATP quickly. The game of football is primarily composed of short, maximum, intensive bouts. And as a football player, I can remember I went on a 9-minute drive, and it was about 20 plays for about 9 straight minutes. I had to give roughly maximum effort for 3 to 5 seconds in short bursts over and over and over again. Blah, blah, blah. All these people making debates. But let's get straight to the facts. On that same article, according to Kramer and Associates, in 2009, a study was done where they examined the acute biochemical and endurance response in NCAA Division I football players the night before a game and right after the game. And they found that 16 players that played the entire game compared to 12 players that didn't play, blood samples were analyzed for catein. I can't even understand these words. Catein, casein, lactose, deodorant, moglon, and testosterone and cortisol. Those players that participated in this game demonstrated significant increase in markers of muscle change. Oh yeah, that's what it means, muscle change. So while basketball players are allowed to just casually walk up the court like nothing's going on, football players have to run 100 yards at a time. Oh, a flag was thrown? Never mind, go back and try to get 100 yards back to back to back. So from one game, players lost a 1% of muscle just from one game? Oh, that doesn't even make sense. Which leads me to my next point of higher risk of injury and longer hefty recovery demands. You just hate to see it happen. Injuries in either football or basketball. You just hate to see it. Basketball requires immense amounts of skill, enough of the change of direction, high speed. Although football is a sport of quick starts and stops, basketball also has some difficulties. According to a study done by Jack from my Gatorade Sports Institution of Science, basketball players have been known to cover over 4,500 to 5,000 meters during a 48-minute game. I know what you're thinking. 5,000 meters? Are you a track star? I know what you're thinking. 5,000 meters, but to go along with the story, research has been shown that the average player spends 34.1% of the time playing, 56.8% walking, and 9% standing. Sorry, it got a little cold. But as football players are heavily reliant on their anaerobic energy system, basketball players are heavily reliant on their anaerobic metabolism system, which is the process of generating electricity without the use of oxygen. That's what metabolism basically means. Basketball has three positions: guards, forwards, and centers. Guards coming in at an average 6'2", 200 pounds with a 7.57% body fat, while centers have an average of 6'9", 247 pounds and 9.8% of body fat. For the elite of basketball players, you have to be the leanest and most toughest and strongest. And maintaining a lean body position for 82 games of a season has to be tough to do, right? Players are now having problems of their gut and not maintaining lean posture of the season. Wow. On the other hand, in the NFL for football, there are players 350 pounds that are having no trouble with this problem. For example, Trent Williams.
When young offensive tackles like Anton Harrison were growing up, Trent Williams played for Washington.
Man, played with him for 4 years. He's one of one. Probably the best athlete I've ever seen. Not just O-lineman, just in general.
I don't know if we're looking at the same thing, but I've just seen a 350-pound man running faster than someone half his size, and him doing that with great flexibility. Trent Williams, who is literally 350 pounds, 6'5", 350, 6'5"? You know how crazy that is? He literally has to give 100% every single play, or his quarterback will get hurt. And we've seen this constantly over and over.
He's going to have to, the ball comes out, helmet's off, spins his head, helmet comes.
Dude almost lost his life. Did you just see that? He literally almost died, like literally cardiac arrest. Damar Hamlin in the clip, I can't even show the clip, but I showed the aftermath. Damar Hamlin literally went into cardiac arrest after that play. You know how crazy that is? And then on the other hand, we have basketball players like LeBron flopping. I hurt my pinky. Well, they have literally football players almost dying. I keep saying, well, you kind of catching a little bit of my biasness, but let's stay on topic. I don't like speaking about these bad injuries, so let's tone it down a little bit, just so the basketball players can relate a little bit. But have you ever heard of ACL? That is literally season-ending injury. Well, according to the National Institution of Health, NFL, NBA are listed as one of the most common injuries based on their means of incidence, with an average incidence of being 1.5 to 2.6 for the average ACL injury per player. But if you read a little lower, it says, compared to other professional leagues and other sports, the time between an injury and recovery is longer than the NBA. Moreover, there is a decline in performance in the season immediately following the return after the play. It's important to prevent ACL injuries. This is what it mean to tell me even NBA analysts are saying that it's easier to come back from an ACL injury because you got a long time to recover? There's the bias for you. Which leads me to my next point. Football is way more mentally challenging. It requires way more game planning with strategies and skill. As you watch football and basketball, you could see that they both have the same type of formats on. There's an offense, there's a defense, there's 4 quarters, they both have the same type of aspects. Both have similar ways of using offense and defense of strategies and plays. So let's just start with simple categories like speed, hand-eye coordination, athleticism.
Forward from his, oh my!
Ouch. Y'all seen that? According to ESPN's What's the Toughest Sport from 2014, boxing comes in at number 1. So boxing comes in at number 1 for the toughest sport, but this debate isn't about boxing. It's about basketball and football. According to this chart, football comes in at number 3, with basketball right under it at 4. So the chart is right here. I'm gonna be looking at it. Hopefully it pops up. If it don't, it don't. But they base it off 10 categories, and out of these 10, football was given a score of 68.75. with the highest category being strength with a score of 8.63 and the lowest being 4.38 for flexibility. Basketball finished with a score of 67.875, with agility being the highest at 8.13 and the lowest being 4.3 for nervous. Even with this chart, it gives you a clear indicator of why football is harder in every individual skill aspect. It's literally there. That's all. The debate's finished. But wait. Well, the biggest difference isn't really between skill and athleticism between the two. Because a normal football game is 4 quarters, 15 minutes with many breaks. And a basketball game is 4 quarters, 12 minutes with many breaks. What makes the biggest difference is the way they game plan. That's the biggest difference. These two have a lot more similarities than we know. Like, besides the clear athleticism differences between football and basketball players, both games are 4 quarters. Football's 15 minutes. Basketball's 12 minutes each quarter. They have a halftime, but they have many breaks in between. So they're very similar if you actually... So what makes football harder? Well, from my personal experience, yes, this is where the biasness comes in. I'm sorry. Football has so many breaks and stopping points because it's needed. It's literally needed. You could go for 9 minutes straight just marching down the field and you don't even score. Now your defense has to come on, and then your defense gets out of there quickly. Now you're back on the field, and you just was on the field for 9 minutes straight of running, stopping, running, stopping, running, stopping. Every single play is calculated from the time the quarterback. Every single thing is calculated from the time the quarterback hikes the ball. The 4 or 5 linemen have their duties. The receivers have their duties to run down the field every play. Let's not even talk about the receivers; they be going through it. So quarterback hikes the ball. He has to. And did I mention that the defense is planning? They know everything you're gonna do. So you have to find a little window so the quarterback's not. He throws it.
Intercepted at the goal line.
Oops, but he throws the ball. And what happens next? What happens was he threw an interception. Me. Every position on the field has an assignment. For example, the lineman, if you don't do your example, I will get killed. Like, literally. Did you not see the plays earlier in the video? Do I have to rewind? Nah, I don't think we just rewind. But literally, for example, every single person has their plays. In basketball, there's 5 people on the field. In football, there's 11 on each side. So basketball 10, football 22. And 5 people basically have the same job except the center. The center's in the middle, gets rebounds. But everybody else is moving. Football, it's too much to even think about. So we're not even gonna break it down this video. You have a defensive back, you have a linebacker, you have a quarterback, you have a defensive end, you got everything in football. And everybody has different jobs. And if you don't do your job, you're out of here. In basketball, it allows for mistakes to happen because you have more opportunities. Let's say you go down, you dribbling down the ball, and you go down the court, and somebody steals the ball and goes and scores. You could turn around. I thought that was gonna go better in my head. But yeah, you could turn around and go and get that bucket back and score. But let's say the quarterback, he throws an interception and they go all the way back and score. Now you have to go all the way back and score 100 yards. And it's not guaranteed. You might not score for the rest of the game. Your coach might take you out. That's why I say football, you have less chances to win. In basketball, you have over 1,000 chances to make up for your mistakes. Football, the littlest mistake could cause you the whole game. So to end the question, is football really harder than basketball? I chose this topic because I played football and basketball when I was younger. I still play football. But it never dawned to me that one was harder than the other. But after seamless debates, I came to my conclusion which sport is harder. Although football and basketball inherently have their separate difficulties that require immense athleticism and everything, in my personal opinion, I still think football is substantially the harder sport due to its never-ending cycle of injuries, high physical demand, and the more just stricter position regiments. But my research and what I do is educate people of which sport is actually harder. But it's not about that. Each sport has their own separate difficulties. It's about the point of view. You could be the biggest person and you might think football's hard. You could be the smallest person, you might think basketball's harder. The main point is that just love what you do and give everything you got. Whether it's football, basketball, even boxing. Give everything. I'm out. We're gonna try this again. It still don't work.